Hello, my name is Josh Atkinson, and you have once again stumbled upon my portrait painting YouTube channel. We're doing a horror day today, one of my favorites. Today I will be showing you how I painted Tony Todd in the role of Candyman from, there we go, from 1992, also starring Virginia Madsen, and based on the Clive Barker short story The Forbidden, if I'm not mistaken. I read that years ago. It was set in England. It wasn't set in Chicago or anything. So this is a truly successful translation adaptation. Anyway, blah blah blah. Yeah, let's just do the time lapse. All right. Oh, you can see the little troll monster I painted from my first video in the upper right corner. Anyway, I'm starting with my Andrew Loomis circle, putting the eyes on a line just to anchor the rest of the face. I find that for me, getting a credible likeness is, it's got a million components, but I find that if I get the little area, I don't know what you call it, the area between the eyes, between the eyebrows, like, is that the top of the nose? I don't know what you call it. But I find that if you get that accurate, it really does allow the other features to kind of grow out from there. Although I will say, there are we make some pit stops on the way to Candyman. We do have um, some moments where it looks kind of like the love child of Will Smith and Kanye West, and then we briefly pause at Mahershala Ali, but then we finally wind up with Tony Todd, who is the actor who played Candyman. This happens, human faces are radically different, but also not all that different. The two times I tried to paint Marlena Dietrich and she ended up looking like Carol Lombard. I tried to paint Grace Kelly one time and she turned out to be the spitting image of Charlize Theron. So, no matter how good you get and how many where you find yourself in terms of getting good likenesses, there are always going to be faces that are more or less challenging. But all that matters is that you get there in the end. I mean, that's all that matters to me. This was a challenging. Um, I'd wanted to paint Candyman for a long time, but while there are like a million images of Freddy or Pinhead or Chucky that kind of evoke that horror character mood, since Candyman is at least facially speaking unadorned, as far as like slashers go, he's got his hook in his hand, but that's not visible when you're in a close up. Um, but yeah, it was hard to find like a high resolution image of Candyman on the internet. I don't know why, but this one came up at some point, and I grabbed it, knowing that it would be super challenging because he is lit from the left, but then he's also got these, I don't know if you'd call them fill lights or whatever, kind of blue cast on his right side and his left side. And I was just like, I really did not know if this one was going to uh, turn out good, but it did. I saw Candyman when I was a little kid. When I was 5 or 6, my mom asked me if I could watch a horror movie, if it would like give me nightmares, and I just like thought about it really seriously for a 6-year-old, and I said no. And it was true, they never scared me, so I just kind of watched whatever I wanted growing up. And Candyman, as well as the sequels, were frequently rented, as were the other movie characters I mentioned before, Freddy and Chucky and all that. But yeah, it's a really good movie, and the reboot was also really good. A little different, a little. I don't want to say it was more cerebral, because I don't know, I feel like cerebral's kind of an insult. I feel like cerebral tends to mean that it wasn't gripping, and I actually thought it was. It held my attention really well. But so anyway, I'm a fan of the movie. I have a fun little anecdote of I've never met Tony Todd, but I okay, so this still frame, he's the line that he's saying is be my victim. And so there were memes of it with, the dialogue, be dot 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 my victim, and I screen capped one of them for Valentine's Day years ago, feeling very clever, put it on Instagram, and I crossed out victim, so it said be my Valentine. And Tony Todd official, his official account, double tapped my Instagram post. So I felt quite accomplished that day. Possibly more than finishing a painting. Not really. But so yeah, got some yellow ochre happening on those on the fur. Got some phthalo blue working into the light on the sides of his face because I just find it to be much more punchy than ultramarine. As always, there's no black in this painting. I just mix ultramarine and burnt umber. Got a lot of beautiful um, opportunities for cadmium reds, cadmium oranges in his skin and in his ears especially. But yeah, you can see like just this multitude of highlights. Yeah, there's on his forehead and his cheeks and his brow ridge and the tip of his nose and his teeth and his dimples and his ears and his eyes. There's so many competing um, sources of light. It's definitely not ideal for a portrait painting. And you can see I leave the bottom of the sheet of canvas kind of exposed. I love doing that. I know that's controversial. I don't know if that's everybody's taste, but I love it. I want my painting to look like a painting. I want it to be a credible likeness. I love doing a scarf like that. You just throw in some strokes. You don't have to be precious and fancy because it's not the focal point. That's anyway, yeah. But I like having this quote unquote painterly style. I don't know why they call it painterly because people who paint in a more photorealistic fashion are also using paint. You'd think there'd be a more creative name, but no matter. And reinforcing some shadow, some angles, jaw lines, temples, a little bit of mustache suggestion. Yeah, I mean, if you have questions about color mixing or I don't know, mediums I prefer, brushes I prefer, feel free to ask them. I'll just tell you I use pretty cheap brushes. I long for the day that I can get Rosemary and Company brushes without feeling like it's going to impact the checking account too much. Anyway, one day. But yeah, I think we're coming up on the finished painting. Here's Tony Todd as Candyman, and here is the final image. So here's the finished painting, and it's an like 8 by 12 inch oil painting. Um, I hope you enjoyed this. I say this every time. I don't really want to phrase it as a tutorial so much as just an example of how it can be done. This is how I painted Candyman. You can paint Candyman however you prefer to. And I will probably paint him again, possibly in a much more expressive, not so realism-oriented style. Oh, that glare. Anyway, I haven't varnished it yet. But so yeah. So hope you got something out of this, and please do leave a comment so that I can think of things to say during these videos, and like and subscribe. Have a good day. Bye.